Media.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. We've talked a lot about the digital election convoy, or I guess the self-proclaimed digital election convoy, to try and get people invested in getting Liberal Party memberships to vote for the next Liberal leader to go up against Pierre Poilievre in the next federal election. We talked about Chandra getting disqualified. We all know that the fix is in. Today it's time to talk a little bit more about accusations that are being thrown around. And I guess the real question that I'm going to ask the viewers on this video is where they stand on this whole debacle, because many other platforms, larger platforms, have said, look, if the left was doing this, if the other side of the spectrum was doing this, we wouldn't be happy with it either. We'd be asking for them to allow democracy to play out. And which I've said, the whole reason we push for these memberships in the first place is that over the last 10 years, when we look at abuse, when we look at everything that's happened from the Liberal government towards Canadian people, I think people are fed up trying to play by the rules, and we've now come to a time where we're prepared to get our hands a little bit dirty and fight fire with fire, so to speak. I was going to say fight by their rules, but fight fire with fire to try and compete and ensure Canada's progression into a better future. When you look at what Donald Trump has done into the United States, sweeping the country by getting rid of woke, by getting rid of all of the crazy politics that are ruining the country, he's attempting to drain the swamp. Canada's looking to do much of the same in the next election by purging themselves of the Liberal Party that has made their life difficult to live by, whether it be the carbon tax, whether it be inflation, whether it just be based off of scandalous behavior with no repercussions. The CBC, or the government-funded Clown Broadcasting Corporation, is now coming to the aid of Justin Trudeau and his Liberals by stating that, well, if you want to start talking about extremists, instead of picking on channels like this or picking on channels like the Pleb, well, they've gone straight to the source to try and villainize those who are standing out to speak up and exercise their Canadian rights. And a lot of it is talked about in this video. We're going to get into this. Let's take a look at what the CBC had to say. Mark Nixon tweeting out, Janice McGregor, CTV, hints at why Chandra Arya was disqualified, but dodges specifics, then pivots to blame, it says CTV, but this is CBC, but then pivots to blame conservative critics like Rick Hillier and Tamara Lich for urging signups to make mischief. There's the word that they're throwing in. Keep in mind, Tamara's still on her appointed court date for March. I believe it's March 12th, where we're to learn what happens with sentencing, or the verdict at least, for Tamara and Chris Barber. Now, of course, we've talked about the Carter application that's in place for Tamara, but they introduced the word mischief here. So they want to try and make a target out of those that are speaking up. What better target to use than Tamara Lich, right? It says, are we going to find out why Chandra was disqualified? A lot of people are saying, look, he didn't speak French. But when you really put, I understand that the party can choose and vet who they want to. It's explained in this clip. You know, the rules don't apply, that there are no consistent rules. There's nowhere in the rule book that states you must speak French. In fact, Mark Carney isn't very well spoken in French. We had a video talking about that he is allowed to brush up on his French. Now, apparently, the nail in the coffin for Chandra Arya, is that he outright said, no, I don't speak French. I don't plan to. He spoke badly about Quebecers and their French language, and it was really bad PR for the Liberal Party. So essentially what happened is they said, no, we're not going to allow you to run. We're going to disqualify you. And apparently they're well within their reasons, even though our Governor General doesn't speak French, even though, again, Mark Carney's brushing up on his. It was the fact that he was not willing to learn French. Again, I think it's a little silly. If they've paid their entry fee, if they have their signatures, they should be allowed to run, especially when he was allowed to sit as an MP. A lot of people are making speculations to one other reason Chandra wasn't allowed to run. We're going to get into that after this clip. Now, of course, I can't show you what happened over on CBC, because we know that every time we show those clips on the channel, they go for content ID strikes. So instead, allow me to play you the audio, and then we'll put a nice little picture up on the screen, and we'll break periodically. We'll break after the audio clip to talk about what has gone on. Let's take a listen.
Liberal supporters to register as party members in order to vote in that race. The slate of candidates is now down to 6. The party has confirmed to CBC News Ottawa MP Chandra Arya has been disqualified. Janice McGregor is live in Ottawa with more on what we know about that, because, Janice, there's some uncertainty as to what exactly happened here. What do we know?
Yeah, Heather, I should mention that he started Sunday, did Arya, with a call for more opportunities to debate his fellow leadership candidates. And then by noon, he was out on social media posting that actually he had been informed by the party that he was disqualified. He said that he was carefully considering his next steps because, in his view, his disqualification raised serious questions about the legitimacy of the race and, by extension, the legitimacy of the next prime minister. Now, that is a very serious thing to say about your party. It is also a serious thing for his party to tell him, as someone that sits in their own caucus, as you say, as someone who had been previously greenlit to run and been elected as a Liberal MP, to tell him that he's now manifestly unfit to serve as leader. In response to CBC's questions, the Liberal Party spokesperson quoted the section of the rules for this race that says, in fact, the party does have the discretion to do just that, based on the public statements, improper conduct, lack of commitment to democracy, or other reputational or legal jeopardy. Now, the party's rules require the vetters to tell the candidate the reasons for the disqualification, but neither the party nor Arya were answering questions about what those reasons are. We do know, it's a matter of public domain, that Arya has been offside from the party on a number of fronts. And not, recently he made some statements about official bilingualism, for example, but we also know in the past his conduct has been questioned in the wake of serious national security and foreign policy concerns. We also don't know, I should say, whether there could be other candidates in this race who are also going to be disqualified, even though they've submitted their payment and their signatures on time. The party does have up to 10 days to vet candidates and confirm exactly who's on the final ballot.
Janice, what are the powers, or are there any? Does the party have any authority to stop people from meddling in the selection process?
Yeah, that's another thing we've been watching. And if you're on social media, you may have noticed a number of conservative accounts, users, also critics, prominent critics of the Trudeau government with large followings, such as retired Chief of the Defence Staff Rick Hillier, also one of the organizers of the convoy protest, Tamara Lich, calling on people who oppose, not support, the Liberal Party to sign up online in what appears to be an effort to make some mischief here. The party says, though, that before any of these people who are signing up before the deadline are able to vote, they are going to have to provide proof of identification. So if people, sign up their dog, that dog actually isn't going to be able to vote. The party has the power to strike fraudulent signups, and the individual leadership candidates' campaigns can also go through the list, vet it, and raise any concerns with any particular names. People also have to confirm that they're eligible to be a registered Liberal, that they're not a member of any other federal party, and if they're caught lying about that, they could be fined $10,000.
So what to take from that? First off is the butthurt of the Clown Broadcasting Corporation, saying that, they do have a process to go through. They're going to weed out these folks. First off, again, I'm going to reiterate this for the 50th time. It is within our Canadian rights, our voters' rights, to become members of any party, so long as we abide by their rules. Now, the Liberals' rules have been very drawn out and simple. You are not allowed to be a member of any other political party in Canada, which, if you are not and have signed up, and if you go to vote, then that is well within your rights. There is no mischief about that. You are allowed to have a say in Canada as to who represents which party and who goes to the ballot box demanding leadership for the Prime Minister's seat. They also talk about people who sign up their dogs, things like that. Okay, fine. Don't sign up your dogs. Don't sign up your pets. I don't know why anybody would have done that in the first place. But they say that this is mischief, that if you're going to sign up, it's now mischief. And of course, they label that over to Tamara Lich and saying accounts with large followings are trying to push for this. Again, this goes back to other channels that have said the same thing, that, hey, we're not joining in with this because if this were happening on the other side of the spectrum, how would we feel about it? I'm going to get to that. You have Tamara tweeting out here in response to what happened with the CBC. The funniest part about CBC News and Janice McGregor's story is that they are accusing me of mischief for participating in the democratic process, yet they have nothing to say about 11 sitting MPs influenced by foreign entities to regain their seats in the last few selections. I like that one. Some of whom could be and likely are running in this leadership race. The real mischief is a ruling party loaded with traitors refusing to release the names and then expecting Canadians to go to an election like it's no big deal. This is where, again, yesterday I talked about how the fix was in. It's all being set up to pave the road for a softball win for Carney. It has nothing to do with actually going through, as Justin Trudeau said, a robust process to select a new leader. It's about paving the road for Mark Carney. I'm not going to get into the negatives of Mark Carney getting in again. We don't want to be negative about it. If anything, this is funny because it shows in real time how this party is actually worried. What they're signaling to the public here is we're worried about real Canadians actually having a voice, so we have to fix our elections in order to make sure who we want to install gets installed. One of the reasons that Chandra Arya was, aside from speaking French, it's out there in the rumor mill, so again, it's not confirmed. Don't shoot the messenger here. I'm just talking about what I've seen on social media saying there's a high possibility he's one of the 11, that that's the reason he can't run. I have my own rebuttal to that saying, well, then why is Chrystia Freeland running? Why is, why is Karina Gould running? I'm willing to bet they're a couple of the 11 as well. So again, it's to each their own. Tamara chimed in also asking, did Christy Clark commit mischief, CBC News? Because this is, again, where it goes back to other outlets saying, well, if it were happening on the other side, that would be just as bad. If you remember when Pierre Poilievre was elected as leader of the Conservatives, Christy Clark came out admitting that she went out. This is a federal person with their eye on federal leadership who admitted to going out to try and sabotage Pierre Poilievre. Take a look at this. Former BC Premier Christy Clark, who is considering a run for Liberal leader, has backtracked on her claim that she'd never been a member of the Conservative Party. She told CBC Radio's The House that she is very seriously considering a leadership bid, which of course we know she didn't go through with, but expressed disappointment with the short timeline for the race. She also denied she voted for former Premier Jean Charest in his bid to become Conservative leader in 2022, a race that was won by Pierre. Clark, who called herself a lifelong Liberal, so keep that in mind, said that in an interview that despite publicly supporting Charest's leadership run, she never joined the party and never received a ballot for the race. The Conservatives have provided a screen grab for their electronic record showing Clark was an active member of the party from June 2nd until June 30th, from 2022 to 2023. So she was a member for just over a year. A year and 3 weeks, roughly. On social media late Friday, Clark posted a facepalm emoji and said she misspoke, but said she's not backing away from her claim that she supported Charest to stop Poilievre. So she went forward to try and sabotage Pierre Poilievre and support Jean Charest. People say, well, Derek, that's only one vote. It's Christy Clark. You're telling me she didn't try to influence others by doing that? I have always been clear, and I supported Jean Charest to stop Pierre Poilievre. He's the most divisive politician we've seen in years, Clark said in a post on X. I'm thinking carefully about running because he still needs to be stopped. But if we want to do that, our party has to accept change. So Christy Clark goes and does it. A lifelong Liberal goes and does it. The pleb. Shout out to the pleb. Love the pleb. Good friends with the pleb. Remember when all the liberal influencers were buying conservative memberships to vote against Pierre Poilievre in the leadership race? Now they're upset that conservatives signed up tens of thousands of the new Liberal Party members to vote against Carney. Absolute hypocrites. Here's a post saying, no worries, I bought a membership to vote for Charest anyways. I even bought it from Pierre, LOL. Again, shout out to the pleb for pulling this up. This is again where I've said, well, anybody who complains, if this were happening on the other side of the fence, it has been. It is. It's been going on for decades. And again, it's not illegal. It's not illegal to exercise your democratic right, which is what Tamara has done here. And she's been called out as committing mischief. Because again, if there's an uprising and if the Liberal Party wants to sulk and complain because their installed preferred leader didn't get in, what does that mean? Well, we can go after the leader of the Freedom Convoy. We can make her smeared and look bad. I'm sure all the YouTube outlets would love to jump down her throat again, as well as bought and paid government prostitutes. What we have now is a new contender that everybody's rallying behind. It'll be interesting to see if she gets disqualified. Next. Chandra Arya has been banned from the Liberal Party leadership race. The next protest candidate is Ruby Dalla, says Moose on the Loose. Shout out to David and Moose on the Loose again. I'd love to get him on the channel sometime to talk about this. Hopefully I can get connected with him at some point to sit down and talk about this, because it really is people in Canada. Now, the CBC said these are people who don't support the Liberal Party. They're supporting going in and toying with their election. We're Canadians. We're allowed to vote. We're not doing anything wrong. If you listen to what Ruby has to say, from a liberal standpoint, she sounds like a breath of fresh air compared to what most liberals would contend with. I'm not going to play the clip, but this is now the new candidate that everybody's saying they're going to go vote for, because nobody wants to vote for Freeland. Nobody wants to vote for Gould. Nobody wants to vote for Carney. You know, the selected, not elected. What you have to remember is that the road's already been paved for Mark Carney. And it's going to continue to be paved for Mark Carney. You've got Minister Champagne, who came out and said, oh, we've talked and things are really good between me and Mark Carney. I'm going to give him my endorsement. Mark Carney's already making deals with these guys. Stephen Guilbeault, who once said, I'm going to step away from politics if Justin Trudeau doesn't want to work on my green initiative. Obviously, Mark Carney's got no problem with it when you hear former Prime Minister of England talking about how Mark Carney bankrupted the Bank of England, how his net zero process was damning and devastating. He's already made a deal with Guilbeault because Guilbeault's already given him his endorsement. You've got Melanie Joly, Trudeau's alleged mistress, giving the same endorsement to Mark Carney. You've got Justin Trudeau paving the road for Mark Carney. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. Staying away from the negative, tell me what you guys think about this kerfuffle. Is it morally wrong? This is the question. Is it morally wrong to get these memberships when you are legally entitled to do so and vote for a candidate you believe is not tied in with those who aim to destroy the country? If you still want to head over to liberal.ca/register, you can still do that in the next 10 hours. You can still get your free membership. Keep in mind, a lot of reason people didn't want to jump on this in the first place was they thought they had to pay to get a Liberal membership. That is not the case. It's 100% free for the Liberal Party. CBC putting their hands up in the air saying people are going to have to show they're registered voters. They're going to have to prove their identification. So what? Okay, no problem. I can do that. I'm a tax-paying citizen. No problem. Yeah, my dog can't vote. My cat can't vote. I sure as heck can, and I sure as heck plan to. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you agree with some outlets saying we should stay away from it, which you're entitled to? Or do you agree that this is the time to stand firm for your country and maybe have a say in who's representing the Liberals going up against Pierre Poilievre? Let me know your thoughts down below. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up with a comment on the way out. Hit that subscribe button. Hit your bell for notification. All that usual YouTube jazz. Join me live here on the channel. Wednesday night for a live stream, but mostly Friday nights every week for our live show, Friday Night Fringe, where we sit down and go over everything that happens this week in politics, everything we know that's coming up in the week ahead, joined by my beautiful wife, Mrs. Fringe. We go over a little bit of Q&A with you guys, hearing what you guys have to say outside of making these videos, and we look very forward to hearing what you have to say this Friday night, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, here on the channel. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.